You are listening to the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Thanks for joining us for this next episode, where we get into important questions that you have and how they can be explained so that they don't get in the way of succeeding. Here we are in episode 12. This is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. When you change you change everything. Last week we talked about what's a settlement date, specifically how it works, why to consider it, and most importantly, how to not let it get in the way of your simple success. This week, the pod is about the January effect. The facts, and I use that term quite loosely here, are it's a perceived seasonal increase in stock prices during the month of January. Now, some people say this is because of an increase in buying after people sold off stuff in December for tax reasons. Other people use year-end cash bonuses as their reason. There are other good reasons too, specific ones like the so-called Santa rally, and basic ones like social proof and peer pressure. The quick explanation is that the January effect is one of many myths that pervade the investing world. And when I say a myth, I mean people take it and use it as a reason to not take action. For example, let's say it's January and you've decided to invest. You say, "No, I'm not going to do that. There's this thing called the January effect. That means it's bad to invest in stocks during the month of January, so I'm not going to do it." Now listen for a second. According to that person, there's no reason to check out the truth of the detail or to put their own efforts into action to prove it true or not true for themselves. The better approach is to see if the story, whatever it is, gets in the way of you getting started. If you don't, you can just as easily extend that logic from what if it's January to what if it's February, or what if it's March, or any other month. I'm pretty sure I speak for you when I say that I don't want my entire future determined by something I don't yet understand. It's a real thing, but it doesn't mean that it has to have a real impact on you. Mostly, you don't have to worry, because I'm going to keep coming back to the basic themes of happiness and success over and over and over again. It's called repetition, and it works. How does this play into simple success? I'll tell you in a minute. Hello, everyone. This is John with the Simple Success Podcast, financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us, please head over to https://anchor.fm/ simple success. That's one word, simple success, support. There, you can choose from a $9.99 per month investor level of support, a $4.99 level, or a basic intro level of just 99 cents per month. That's not much when you compare it to a stockbroker, right? And this is so much more sensible. To leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast, go to https://anchor.fm/ simple success. Again, one word, simple success, message. I won't repeat those links because weird. And anyway, show notes. In that spirit, today's episode is the January effect. Once upon a time, there was a heroic investor. He rode upon whatever horseback he could find. He was equipped with the best armor and the mightiest swords. He could not, however, understand how to avoid uncontrollable stock prices. Everything that you see in the mirror is what this investor was. He was you. He is you. Today, we're talking about the January effect. This is one of the many things we use to divert our attention. Attention from what? Attention from the real reason that we need to be investing. It can divert our attention from the actual simplicity of success. I often say, I'm not picking on the financial industry right before I do exactly that. And I want to take that head on. The reason I'm not picking on the financial industry is because the financial industry is not the only guilty party. Almost every business does it. Don't whine about it. Just be aware and stay focused. Be prepared and pay attention. Take the mental leap to focus on the result and not on the distraction that's being put up to take brain power away from what you need to do for you. That's principle number 1. Once upon a time, there was a heroic investor who climbed high enough to see through the hype, and that investor was you. It was a beautiful day when he realized that he could control what was going on in his life. He had an epiphany that it was possible to succeed, that it wasn't a matter of a fixed mindset where one group succeeded at the expense of another. No, this was a world where wins can be had by all sides. Now, I'm not saying that everything is like that all the time. I'm not being naive here. I tell you how things really are. Simple success is how things can be when you decide to make them your way. That's the epiphany that our investor had, and that's the epiphany that I had, and that's the epiphany that you're going to have. That can't possibly apply to investing, can it? Oh, yes, it can, and it does. Psychology is in everything. And that's a big part of simple success. How we make a difference within the rules is what we look at next. Details on that coming up. Let's get on with how to overcome this kind of problem. What to do and when and how to do it. The January effect. How do we overcome the January effect? What is our call to action here? You've heard me say this before, and it's still true. It's so true, we're going to provide an exercise to make sure that you actually learn by doing. Step 1, set a goal. The best way, without rival, to not get distracted from your goal is to not have one. Oh, but there's something else to be aware of, and that is the possibility of being distracted from even setting a goal. And that is what manipulation is all about, getting you to do something or to not do something. Don't worry though, we're going to counteract that with these steps, starting with that goal. It can be a time frame, it can be a dollar figure, it can be a way, there's lots of different possibilities. The specifics of your goal matter to you. You having a goal is what matters to me. And next, support your goal with systems. If it's something that could be measured, decide how you're going to measure it. Not too rarely, but also not too often. Decide in advance. Don't surprise yourself. Don't fall into that common trap where we measure too fast and decide with way too little information. We could think, well, that didn't work today, so it won't ever work. It's a common trap. Don't decide things on the spot. Decide well in advance. Be sure you have a system. It's one thing to have a goal. That's important. It's just as important to have a good way to get there. Good, meaning a way which keeps you feeling comfortable while also reaching your goal. Good, meaning a way which keeps you feeling comfortable while also reaching your goal. Without that system, that way of getting there, we can make reaching goals a whole lot harder than it should be. Stick to the plan instead. Then comes patience. I like the quote I heard recently, which goes like this. Patience is like underwear. It's important to have, but it's not always necessary to show it off. Even if the plan, the goal with the system, doesn't work the first time, we're going to be patient and stick to the plan. Even if you're reaching your goal too quickly, you don't stop. Why? Because you have a plan, and your plan accommodates such a thing. And last, patiently repeat. And then we're going to repeat the plan. And then we're going to repeat it again. I've been doing this for about 6 months, and it has been immensely helpful in avoiding repeating decision points. I don't have to worry about things like, is this the, air quotes, right Friday to invest? I do it every Friday. That decision has already been made, and I can focus on other things. That's what Albert Einstein did, and you can ask me about that later. We're changing the way we look at things, and remember, that's good. Also remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. Great example. The rabbit hole. This is the part of the podcast where I'm learning to put those tangents I often go on. I had to create this segment to have a place to put those tangents, with the idea of tying them into the topic of the episode. Thanks to my rabbit hole advisor, I'm undertaking an effort to stay on topic and not fall down those rabbit holes like I know I do sometimes. I've also learned from her that, well, at least in Australia, one can avoid falling down rabbit holes by talking to the rabbit. In other words, letting experts go on those tangents. I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm looking for guests for future episodes of this podcast, so everyone is forewarned, in a humorous way, of course. Turn the question around, this time into a statement. What is the January effect becomes, I invest every month no matter what. It's flipping the script enough. I don't. You can call me on it. If you want more information, you can call me on that too. Remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Coaching happiness. And since that is a big part of your happiness, I'm going to walk down another street, one without the rabbit holes, by calling on expert guests, and most importantly, you. When we're done with that, we'll point you to the voice message link for future pods. In this Simple Success podcast, as well as in our webinars and masterclasses, we are very, very much going to want to hear your story. Well, to be real, I mean in future episodes of the podcast's webinars and masterclasses. This means you. Your participation is critical to our mutual simple success. It's important to know how you think, what you've thought, what you've tried, and what you've been unsure of trying. As we told you at the beginning, and as you also find in the show notes, we have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know when that happens. Together, we're going to make it great. We're going to do what even we didn't think possible. We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to a podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. The reason every podcast asks you this is because when you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. This means better rankings, more attention from advertisers, more money, and that means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. There is no try, there is only do. Remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Right after this, we'll explore some more important detail you should know. But for now, use your imagination to help create your story. And to remind you, everyone listening can head to that voice message link in the show notes to record a voice message for a future podcast. Anyway, to wrap up the story, what is the January effect? Let's do an example. All of us listening live, listening on the podcast, wherever, here's how we're going to do this. Step-by-step instructions. Number 1, pick up your smartphone. 2, download the StepBet app. That's StepBet, all one word. I probably sound like I'm an employee. I'm not affiliated with them at all. Number 3, run the app. Number 4, look for the words enter game code. If you don't see them right away, press the search magnifying glass on the bottom row first. Number 5, the game code is one word, yes I will. YESIWILL. Yes I will. After that, since you haven't done a game before, you'll have to connect your bank. Remember, this is real money, just not a lot. And when that's done, you can join the game. Now, assuming you're like most people and you have either a Garmin or a Fitbit or some other access to Apple Health, then you have an independent way to verify that you really did the steps. StepBet relies on this independent measurement instead of my and your honesty. And that's just fine with me. Then you link up to the game and they debit the $40 usually pending your completion, upon which you might win $45 or more in addition to some great fitness goals. My purpose, in addition to those great ones, is to teach you in a pretty painless way how to start experiencing the joy of an awesome ROI and how there's more than one way to look at nearly everything. Next week, we're going to look at another concept, and that is student loans and ruined futures. Like everything, that got picked for me by my topics randomizer, so you know I'm not prepackaging this stuff, but instead making it relevant so we can all, me included, learn how to do this right. And we're going to bring that into the world of investing. It's going to be a great episode. But for now, remember, happy Neighbor Day. I mean, all you need to do is practice, after which you'll get good. Gracias por escuchar. A la próxima.